Hello and welcome to this week's RacingBet preview ahead of racing on Saturday, the 12th of December. The Group 1 action in Western Australia is all but over, but the racing action comes thick and fast. It never stops unless it's Christmas Day, but there's plenty to look forward to this weekend. It's another huge weekend ahead. We've got the Valley on Friday night along with Canterbury. Then we're back at headquarters on Saturday in all three states, Melbourne, Sydney and Perth, or three cities I should say. Back at headquarters, Flemington, Randwick and Ascot. And then, of course, we've got the Hong Kong international races to look forward to on Sunday. I'm your host, Tim Geers, joined by Trent Crebbin. And this week, Trent, we welcome on board Bet Deluxe as a new sponsor to the show. Great to have them on board. They're relatively new to the Australian bookmaking scene, but it's great to have them on board. And I look forward to taking you through all of our best bets at Ascot and Flemington this Saturday. Trent, how's things?
Yeah, good. It's like you said, it's good to get to headquarters for all of the races. We've got some decent races in all the states here, and also Brisbane starting to heat up as well. So we'll be following that on racingbet.com.au as that starts to heat up as well. But it's good to have racing kind of firing in all the big states.
Yeah, and as I said, there's no real feature racing action, at least in Melbourne and Perth this weekend. Of course, we've got the Group 2 Villiers Stakes over in Sydney, but there's plenty of good racing. Like Saturday's card at Ascot is terrific. There's a lot of very handy kind of 66, 72 and 78 races. Of course, we've got the listed Towton Cup, which headlines the program. And over at Flemington, there's plenty of good racing too. I know we're going to speak shortly about your best bet, but there's plenty of competitive racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially the race that my best bet comes up in is a kind of can't miss race for the card. It looks to be very hot, full of quality and full of kind of last start winners as well.
Do you have any quick words to sum up the carnival? It's been a very busy couple of months, of course. You were busy tied up with the Melbourne Spring Carnival, and then we've just recently got through the Ascot Carnival over here in Perth. How have you seen things, and how are you looking ahead into the summer?
Oh yeah, look, it's been fun. It's been a bit tiring at sometimes, but we wouldn't trade it for anything, and it's been good to find a few winners in some few big races, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Alrighty, well, let's move ahead to this weekend. We're not going to rest on our laurels. We've had some good results in the past few weekends and been seeing them pretty well overall. So we're going to move ahead to our best bets for Flemington and Ascot. Trent, we're going to start over with you at Flemington in Melbourne. Your best, one of the races you were just alluding to, probably one of the better races on the card, is race number 5 on the card. It's a sprint down the Flemington Straight over 1,000 metres. Your best bet on the card is horse number 2, Fabagino, currently $3.80 with Bet Deluxe.
Yeah, look, this is definitely the race of the day over 1,000 metres. But I've gone with Fabagino here. I just think she's definitely the best horse in the race. I don't think there's any doubting that. It's just whether she's going to bring her best here. And I think she can bring something like her best here. She was beaten a long way, about 8.5 lengths, finishing last start. But that was in the VRC Sprint Classic behind Bivouac, which is obviously probably the best sprinting form line anywhere in the world. And I think the 5 weeks between runs is really what she needs. She's kind of always better fresh, and she's only had 3 or 4 weeks between runs, all kind of this Melbourne preparation. She gets 5 weeks between runs here, drops back to 1,000 metres, which I think definitely suits her. And her one run at this track and distance was a very good listed win earlier in the year. You look at her run 2 starts ago in the Caulfield Sprint over 1,000 metres. I thought her run there was excellent. She finished second to Graf there, conceding him weight as a mare. I think a repeat of that performance would see her very hard to beat here. Do concede there's some other really good chances. I thought Prezado was the main danger. He's got a really good record at the track and distance. I think he's 5 wins from 9 starts at the 1,000 metres. And there's a couple of other horses that are absolutely flying. But I think if Fabagino turns up at her best, they won't be able to catch her.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how she goes. Obviously, she's a mare that I've had plenty of opportunities to watch over the last couple of years. And you could say her form in Melbourne's been pretty mixed. Of course, we saw her first up in the Moya, which was her target all along, and then she completely missed the start, and it was all over from there. Bounced back with a good run, as you said, behind Graf 2 starts ago, and then she was beaten out of sight by Bivouac last start. Do you see them, because I heard the stable kind of talking about, we might just give her one more run while we're here in Melbourne. Tiana Robertson, her trainer, obviously had her leg broken in half by this mare. And so while she's in Melbourne recovering, I think they figured, we might as well have another throw at the stumps. Does that worry you at all, this being potentially somewhat of an afterthought?
Well, you could say that, but you could also say that for her last 2 runs as well, because the Moya was going to be a kind of hit and run mission. And then she kind of failed in that because she missed the start and never got into the race. So they ran her again. And then I think the VRC was kind of probably a little bit of a bridge too far. But I think she's had enough time off here to come here fresh. And I think there's no reason not to run her. The 1,000 metres down the straight is really going to suit her. So I think it could be thought of as an afterthought, but I think it's a really suitable race for her.
The thing I really like about her too is that she's had 5 weeks between runs, and as you'll notice
Yeah.
throughout her pattern of racing and her form and her record overall, is her best racing's all done fresh. You know, typically she normally has 8 to 9 weeks off between runs, but I like the fact they've given her an extra couple of weeks between runs here. She's had 5 weeks between runs, and it's a very big step back in grade. You know, she's been listed in Group 1, racing at Group 1 and Group 2 level this preparation. She was a Group 3 winner last prep, listed winner down the straight last prep. She drops back to a handicap here, an open handicap, albeit against some decent horses, but she should find this much easier. So I'll be rooting for her, of course. She's a WA mare, so I'll be hoping she gets the job done. And for your sake as well, I hope she gets the job done. And for all our viewers, as your best bet of the day at Flemington. Let's move on to your best value bet, something at a little bit more juicy odds. It comes up in the lucky last, race number 9 on the card. You're hoping to blast out in the last, as you have been tending to do the last few weeks. A number of your best bets have been in the last race on each card, but your best value of the bet here, best value bet of the day here is horse number 16, Standoff. It's currently $10 with Bet Deluxe, and you're also keen to have something on Uptown Lola, upwards of $30.
Yeah, and those best bets have been saluting in the last as well. I think it's been 3 or 4 in a row here. So it's been good to kind of send punters home on a winning note. But over to Flemington in the last, I think number 16, Standoff, is a really good value chance at double figures. She's got a good record down the straight. She ran kind of some good races as a 2-year-old and came back as a 3-year-old and took on probably just a bit of a harder race in the and a race behind September Run and Swats that. And then she had another 10 weeks off. She went to the Magic Millions Classic behind Sistar and the Astrologist, and I thought her run there was excellent. On a day that was kind of tough to make ground, we saw with the Astrologist couldn't reel Sistar in there. This filly actually ran a better 600 and 400 metre time there, and just kind of she went for a gap between horses in the kind of the last 100 metres or so, and just kind of got squeezed out there. And she still ran the second fastest last 200 metres of the race there. I think she was going just as well as the Astrologist up until that point. We've seen that horse come out and win again since, and I think it's a fairly good form line for this. So I think drawn barrier 16, she's just going to be able to peel to the outside here. She likes the straight. I think she can run really well at double figures. And the other one is Uptown Lola. I just thought she was a big price for a horse that's won her last 3. She steps up in grade here, but she's a mare that's in form, puts herself on speed, and gives a big kick. She's hard to run down. I just thought $30 was just a big price for a horse that's been able to do that her last 3.
Beautiful, mate. Well, hopefully you can get us out again in the lucky last. I love the little self-pump there, little trumpet playing, but I'll give it to you because, look, if you get your best bet home in the last, it's a good way to end the card. So you're more than entitled to do that. Let's move back over to the West, where I've had a little bit of success along the last few weeks. Bit of a funny week last week. I managed to tip 4 winners and still lost on the day. So kind of had to go back, review where I went wrong, but where I went wrong was tipping a $7.50 winner and having nothing on in the race. But anyway, I'll learn from that, and hopefully we can go one better again this week and notch up another few winners and keep pumping in the units. But I think a good way to start early on the card, I just think there's a complete standout bet of the meeting. My best bet at Ascot on Saturday is race number 2, horse number 7, She's a Charmer. Now, those who follow me on Twitter will know that I tweeted about this 3-year-old filly a couple of weeks back at Bunbury. She raced, I think it was a Wednesday, she raced, and I was actually on course that day. It was a day where you basically had to be hard up against the rail and on speed. Like, the leaders were just having a crazy time of things out front. It was a very, very favourable to be up on speed that day. This filly settled worse than midfield and put them away like they were C graders. She was just super impressive. She's had 3 starts now. First up on debut at Northam, she's had 3 wide the trip and was beaten less than a length. She ran home really well still, despite sitting wide throughout. She then went to Bunbury at her second start and won. And as I said, she returned to Bunbury last start and just gave them a good old-fashioned donkey licking, completely defying the pattern on the day. She couldn't have been more impressive, and she went straight into the black book on the back of that win. I think the stable were considering running her again at Bunbury this Sunday, but a little birdie did tell me that They were pretty confident they could go to town on Saturday and win anyway. So they've elected to take this option, head straight to Saturday grade, and I think she'll make it 3 wins in a row. Drawn well in barrier 4 for Paddy Carberry, who produced just like the best ride you'll ever see at Ascot yesterday. That's Wednesday we're talking about. So jock in form, drawn well barrier 4. Look, it's a decent field, this is. Really decent field, but I just think this field's got a bit about her, and I expect her to go there and win again. So she's currently around $2.25, $2.35 best price around. And I think that's a really nice little bank builder early on in the card at Ascot. Race 2, number 7, She's a Charmer. We'll move on to my best value bet of the day. And it comes up in race number 4. Now, this is another competitive little race, but I think horse number 2, Mr. Cunnifer, is currently around $21, and I reckon that's just a little bit over the odds. First up, he resumed over 1,200 metres, which is just completely below his best distance, unsuitable. And he blew the start by about 5 or 6 lengths, like completely bombed the start. Race was all over then. He finished second last, beaten 5.7 lengths, but, you know, I know it's simple math, but you put him jumping with the rest of the field and he probably isn't beaten all that far. Now, Resort Man won that race over 1,200. Resort Man's a pretty good horse, and I expect Resort Man to win. He also races on the same day. I expect him to come out and win again. So I think it's a good form line. Step straight up from 1,200 to 1,600 metres, which is a distance much, much better suited to him. He might even get a little bit further this preparation than the mile. He actually won up to 1,800 metres last preparation, but that was in 72 grade, and he is second up into 66 grade here. So he's more than capable in this grade. I think he'll improve that run off the 32-week spell. The blinkers come off, and hopefully he jumps with them, because if he does from barrier 5, I think he's a decent each-way bet here at $21. So that's race 4, number 2, Mr. Cunnifer, Bruce Watkins, Jason Whiting. Looks a very juicy price around $21. Outside of that, as I said, there's plenty of good betting opportunities at Ascot on the weekend. Resort Man goes around in what race is he going around in, Trent? We were just speaking about this off air. Race number 6. Yeah, so race 6, we saw him change tactics last start and go forward, and that sewed up the race. Drops back a little bit in distance to 1,100 today. But look, I expect him to go forward and win again. And then Pikey in the Towton Cup, I think he's pretty well on a good thing as well. Midnight Blue. Where are we? Yep, Midnight Blue. That's race 8, number 9. Yeah. He actually jumps off the stablemate who won last start, Royal Command, and jumps back onto Midnight Blue, who's on the quick backup after flashing home last weekend behind Adornment. Goes from Carleen Heffel back to William Pike. Think that'll be winning down on the minimum weight of 54 kilos. So multi them up. There's three winners for you, and you should end up with a decent price. Anything else that's caught your eye over the weekend, Trent?
No, I think that pretty much does it. It looks a nice card at Flemington. The full preview will be up probably tomorrow on RacingBet.com.au. But until then, we'll see you next week, I think.
Yeah, well, it's all happening. Like, you look through this schedule, the Valley and Canterbury Friday night, as we said, Flemington, Randwick, Ascot on Saturday, and who could forget Hong Kong International Race Day on Sunday at Sha Tin. We'll have full coverage of that meeting. Last night, we had the International Jockeys Championship at Happy Valley, where we managed to notch up quite a few winners, including Zach Purton
on fire.
in the Jockeys Championship at $7, if you don't mind, who also rode his 1,200th career winner in Hong Kong. So that was just a nice little taster for what lies ahead on Sunday, of course, with 4 international Group 1s. Plenty of bloody good horses lining up there. So we'll have full coverage of that on racingbet.com.au. We're going to have full coverage of every single meeting that I've just listed. It's all happening.
We'll get to
so hopefully we can find one or two winners. Yeah, Classic Legend.
Classic Legend line up in the sprint there as well, which will be interesting to see.
Yeah, what did you make of his trial?
Not great. I thought he could definitely trial better. Apparently not fit, but there's not a whole lot in that race. There's not any kind of real stars. And we know that he is one. So, look, if he turns up somewhere near his best, he'll win. But it's just whether he does. It should be fascinating.
Yeah, well, that's a job for probably Saturday night for me to figure out. Yeah. I've got plenty to worry about before we focus on those. But I can't wait till Sunday. I've got a little horse racing down in Bunbury as well. So I'll be heading down there to hopefully see her run well. Chris Parnham booked to ride, which is a positive lead. But, yeah, we'll see how we go. Anyway, that'll do us for this week. Trent, thanks for your company. Head over to betdeluxe.com.au, guys, if you're going to have a bet this weekend. And of course, you'll find all of our previews on racingbet.com.au.